5:30 p.m. on ESPN.
Let's take a closer look at the Premier Division of NASCAR in our Nextel Cup update. See the top 10 in points for the Nextel Cup. And with just 7 races remaining, these are the only ones that are locked into this race.
That's right, because you have to either be in the top 10 or within 400 points. As you can see, Dale Jarrett 10th is over 400 points behind. So as of right now, only 10 guys eligible.
Tomorrow on Speed Channel, get fired up with NASCAR this morning. See how the field stacks up, what final adjustments are left to be made, and how the chase for the championship is shaking out. NASCAR this morning. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. live and only on Speed Channel. Fans are on their feet watching great racing at Memphis Motorsports Park. It's David Rudiman holding on to the top spot as we've gone 68 laps so far of 200. Again, a 3/4 mile track. It's a 150-mile race.
Some great racing back in the pack there. You see Jason Montgomery, the 18 truck. He leads that battle. The 29, Brett Keselowski. There's Eric Amarillo. The 47 makes some contact with the, looks like the 4, and spins out.
Locks the wheels up. Caution flag comes out.
Didn't hit anything, so he should be okay.
Going to get that truck back going before the leader gets there, hopefully. He needs to get it going. Needs to keep it running. Here comes the leader, David Rudiman.
He's going to go a lap down.
Oh.
He's going to try to get the benefit of the doubt here and see if the NASCAR will allow him to go by our leader, David Rudiman. Pretty innocent spin. It looked like he made a little contact with the 4 of Timothy Peters. Didn't hit anything, but didn't have quite enough room to get turned around without hitting the inside wall, so he needed to back up, did a 3-point turn, and unfortunately didn't look like he got going before David Rudiman, but we'll see what NASCAR has to say.
Eric Almirola working with the Joe Gibbs Racing development program as well as the diversity program, and so he is driving that 47, has brought our most recent caution flag out, and with that, does that give the opportunity for David Rudiman to come now to pit road?
Well, it definitely does, but he's right now probably a little bit outside his window to pit. I'm not sure if he wants to come in right now. I think he would rather see this race go 10 or 20 laps. Then he knows he would have enough fuel to go the distance.
Yeah, I think it's too early right now. All these top 5, 6 guys, they got to stay out.
And look at this.
Crawford, the 14 truck, makes his way down pit road. See, Robert Press is going to follow him, but the top 3, the 17 of Rudiman, the 50 of Todd Cleaver, and the 46 of Dennis Setzer, stay out on the racetrack.
And there's his crew looking like, well, I thought you were going to come down. Rick Crawford, after a very difficult time 2 weeks ago where Rick Crawford was involved in a accident during qualifying, wasn't able to continue his streak of consecutive starts, now comes in from pit road.
Yeah, Cowboy Starlin, he said they had a pretty good truck here. Rick was feeling pretty good. He took a pretty hard hit a couple weeks ago at Kentucky. Obviously, it stopped his streak, consecutive starts at 210, but Rick, glad to be back in this truck, was at Kentucky for the race, wanted to be back in the truck, but the doctor said he probably shouldn't do it. So here he is back. He's got a great run going, been running in the top 5. Dragging is something along the left side. I don't know if that may be a side skirt or something like that. If that's the case, it's probably nothing big, no big deal.
Ray.
Todd Cleaver was about to come down pit road. His crew chief Mike Beeman said, yeah, let's pit right here, get some tires on it. Cleaver said, are we good to go the rest of the way? And Mike said, no, we're about 10 or 11 laps short. And Todd said, why in the world would we pit? He said, well, let's get some tires on it and see what we've got. They said, well, wait, let's see what the leader does. If Rudiman comes, we're coming. If he stays out, we're staying out. And that's exactly what happened.
Pit strategy taking place. Eric Almirola was the reason for our most recent caution. Let's take a look at what.
He drives down the corner. He's on the inside of Timothy Peters. Looks like he might have hit the curb and then bounced up into Timothy Peters, and then in order to try to keep from crashing Timothy Peters, looked like he grabbed hold of the steering wheel, turned it left.
Yeah, it's a good call. You can see it right here as he gets up on the curve and just pops it around.
Tries to stay off of Timothy Peters and then turns around. A couple guys do a good job getting by him. Steve Parker on the inside, Johnny Benson on the outside. Another look. Looks like he might look. You saw the grass fly, just like Ron Hornaday. He ran through the edge of the racetrack in the grass, just like Ron Hornaday, where Ron Hornaday ran into Brandon Witt. He ran into Timothy Peters and unfortunately paid the price with a spin.
As good as a Goodyear is, I've never seen him work good in the grass.
Not a lot of tread on these Goodyear.
No.
Not that bad, dude. You know, I mean, I'm
So
moving
you see
around a little bit with it, hard stuff, and I mean,
Eric Almirola in the 47 and holding on to the top spot now. It is the NTN bearings of David Rudiman. Wendy.
Open. Hello, hi. David Runeman, our leader, said he finally got a chance to settle down and drive his truck real easy. Now, originally he was free on entry. Fortunately, his truck has tightened up on him, gotten a little bit more easy to drive for him, but he still needs overall grip on the front end and rear end grip is what he needs. Now, Jason Overstreet sits atop the pit box, and the magic number he just gave me was 85. And folks, it looks like the 17 is going to try and go on one stop here at Memphis. Ray?
Trouble for our pole setter, Wendy. We talked about the heat here all day long. Well, the heat is a big problem for Brandon Witt and his number 38 Toyota tonight for two reasons. Number one, his water temperature is way high, 265 to 270. They're going to have to get some more tape off of that. And also, the driver is getting blisters on the top of his back and on his backside because he says the inside of the truck extremely hot also. So not just the water temperature, but the driver. Very hot tonight for our pole sitter, Brandon Witt.
Well, that's not surprising either. You never know if you have a new seat or something like that. You don't really have the insulation in the truck. Maybe it's a different truck than they haven't run this truck when it was really, really hot. So you don't know these things until you run an extended period of time like they have here tonight.
Well, talk about what actually is under a seat in a race truck as opposed to your normal car. You don't have what you got in a race truck where you got exhaust and oil and all that stuff that are under their seat.
Also, it's not 140 degrees in your passenger car ever, and you're not wearing a snowmobile suit, basically. So, it's hard for the average person to imagine how hot these things are inside.
We restart on lap 75. It's David Rudeman out in front. And again, this is a 200-lap race. We're 25 laps away from the half-point mark. And, Phil, you're saying that we could go upwards of maybe 120 laps if they want to.
That's right. You heard Wendy say the magic number for David Rudeman is lap 85. Once he gets to lap 85, that means he's in his window. He can run 115 laps. But I think if he had to, he could run up to 150, maybe even 120 laps if the caution doesn't come out until then without having to pit for fuel.
I like the one-stop strategy because in the end, it looks like the tires aren't really slowing up. They're still running really respectable times, the top 4 or 5 trucks. And in the end, they're going to have track position on guys like Ron Hornaday, who's going to have to stop again later.
We don't have to go any farther back than last year. Bobby Hamilton pitted around lap 102, 104, something like that, and that was his only pit stop during the race, and he won the race. So we know that a one pit stop strategy will work here, and this is a very similar tire, same right side tire, and very, very similar left side tire to what we had last year.
The tires were the big issue the first part of this season because we've seen so many track records fall because of a little bit softer compound in the tires, but here they stayed fairly similar.
So we saw 11 track records of the 13 places that we qualified this year because Goodyear went to a little softer tire, really more as a result of the Nextel Cup Series trying to reduce the downforce and try to give the driver a little bit of feel back so they've got a little bit softer tire. Well, the trucks are a byproduct of that. They get their softer tires too, but Goodyear probably felt like this tire was a little bit on the soft side anyway here, and that's why they made essentially no changes for this race.
I was talking to one of Rick Crawford's crew members, Gator, earlier before, after they had done some of the practice work. They had gone over 50 laps in practice, and he said, our tires are only about halfway worn down, so we're not wearing down our tires that much.
And David Rudeman just ran one of his fastest laps of the race with 78 laps on his tires, so it's pretty impressive.
So David Rudeman, the impressive one out front, and it's a Ford that's behind him, and that's Todd Cleaver, because Ford has not won a race in 2005. Could it be Todd Cleaver claiming his first victory in the Truck Series and the first victory for Ford in 2005?